Well, I want to welcome you back to this edition of the Golden Rule. Jesus spoke it. It says basically, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. You know, that's what this program is all about. And we try and do things in such a way that we give you information that will be a blessing to you, help you draw closer to God. You know, I'm aware of the fact that as we're doing this recording, there are different categories of people watching this, everywhere from flat-out atheists to radical believers and everything in between. I've been a little bit of all of that. There was a time when I just disallowed the whole thing. There's no God, there's no life after death. I didn't believe in any of it. And as a consequence, I didn't read the Bible because I didn't believe it either, because I believed all the negative press it got about, it was just written by man and it's been translated a gazillion times and who can tell whether it's reliable or not. You can tell whether it's reliable. It's very, very reliable, and I'm hoping to persuade you of that somewhat today. You know, God is very, very precise. Everything He does is precise. When you consider your body, I mean, if you ever took the time to consider your body, I mean, just think about what all is involved just in allowing your hands to open and close. And then you can pick up an egg delicately. You can pick up depending how strong you are, a 50-pound rock, 100-pound rock and move it. And you're gripping it tightly. You don't grip a child like that. You treat the child tenderly. So our bodies are so, well, the Bible says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And you know, after I got saved, I started to realize just how true that is. God is precise in everything He does. Every component of my body, whether I recognize what it's there for. This eyelash, sometimes it gets in my way. And I say, oh, that's an annoying eyelash. Thank God for the eyelash, because it does some stuff that I'm not even aware of. And the same way with all the other fingernails, toenails, it doesn't matter. Every part of my body has a purpose to it. And even if I don't understand the purpose scientifically or whatever, there's a purpose because God designed it. And so, you know, Matthew 4:4, Jesus is having a conversation with the devil. I don't know if you believe in the devil or not, but he's real. And he bothers people that will allow him to bother them. And Jesus, the devil said to Jesus, hey, if you're the Son of God, why don't you turn these stones into bread? You can do that, right, Mr. Miracle Worker? And Jesus said, yeah, but man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Every word, precise. Every single word in this book is, in essence, dictated by God. It was men writing it, yes, they wrote the pen to the paper, but God was putting the exact words in their minds as to what they should say. So we are, this very week, April 8th, going to experience something that could be of great significance prophetically. You know, let me just read to you. I'm going to jump around here, but in Genesis 1:14, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I wanted to talk to you first. Before I get to that, I want to talk to you about signs. The Bible talks about signs. For instance, in Matthew 2, verse 2, we read that wise men from the east followed a star. The star was a sign that the Messiah had arrived on planet Earth, was prophesied about for hundreds of years, and now these wise men knew that this event had taken place because they saw a sign, a star. That star was visible to everybody else on the planet, but they were the only ones that picked up on its spiritual and prophetic significance. And so they followed the star until they got to the place where they found that Jesus. So God operates through signs. In Matthew 12:38, Jesus makes this statement concerning a man named Jonah. Have you heard of Jonah? Yeah, he was he was a guy that had a little bit of an experience. He ended up inside of a fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And Jesus says in Matthew 12:39, he says, Jesus answered them, he says, an evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there shall no sign be given it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. Oh, so Jonah was a sign? Yes, Jonah was a sign. For as Jonah spent 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So Jesus is saying what happened with Jonah actually happened. It was a real event. A human man spent 3 days inside of a very big fish, and they ended the 3 days, the fish spit him out. Jonah was a sign. We got other situations here in Matthew 24. This is so cool. Matthew 24, verse 3. Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And then Jesus goes through this whole chapter giving a bunch of signs. But in verses 29 and 30, he says this, immediately after the tribulation of those days, which he just described, shall the sun be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, the stars shall fall from heaven, the powers of the heavens shall be shaken, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Signs in the heavens. Now, listen to this. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 17. You know, sometimes when people read a Bible, and I was guilty of it. I mean, I tried to read the Bible as an unbeliever. I figured, everybody says it's important, I might as well give it a shot. And I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. It was just total Greek to me. Made absolutely no sense. I figured it was fables, fiction, fantasy, whatever. I didn't believe any of it because I wasn't a believer in the God who wrote it. And if you don't believe in the God who wrote it, this is just a book with words. It won't mean a whole lot to you. But once you have an understanding of who Jesus is, and more importantly, you invite him into your life, voila, all of a sudden he's there on the inside of us to interpret this book for us and to draw our attention to portions that he wants to highlight for us. So, for instance, in Genesis 1, verse 14, and here God is describing the creation of the universe, how it all came into pass. And in this particular occasion, on the 4th day, I believe it was. Yeah. 4th day. So we start in Genesis 1:14. God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs. Let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the heavens, to give light to the earth. And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Now, you know, it's real easy, if you don't know the Lord, to think it's all random. It's all random. There's no rhyme, no reason to where the stars are. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, yes, there is. It's very precise. The whole of creation is precise. From your fingernail to the heavens, it's all precise. You know, how is it that we're able to predict the exact, to the second, when the sun's going to come up over the horizon? Because everything in God's universe is predictable. It's accurate. And the heavens, among the fact that the sun gives us light, they are for a sign. And we are going to experience one of those signs on April 8th. In fact, by the time you're watching this, probably will have already happened. This is one of 2 times when we experienced an eclipse in the United States that appeared nowhere else on the planet. And most of the eclipses, when they occur, appear over an ocean somewhere, and nobody gets to see the vast majority of them. But every so often, there appear eclipses on the earth where they can be seen. And in the case of a total eclipse, that means you have the sun is absolutely 100% covered, and it gets dark. Now, in 2017, there was an eclipse of the sun which took place in the United States of America. It started on the northwest coast, came clear across the country, and left off the coast of North Carolina. And the very place where it left was where the first battle of the Civil War began. That's significant. The trajectory of this lunar eclipse in 2017, it was about a 130-mile wide swath of darkness. And within that swath, during its entire crossing of the U.S., it blackened out 7 states with the same name. 7 cities with the same name, excuse me. And the name of the cities was Salem. Salem has a spiritual meaning in the Bible. It means peace. So that was 2017. Now, 7 years later, we're having another eclipse. This eclipse is going to start at Eagle Pass. It's already happened by the time you're watching this, but Eagle Pass, Texas. The first one left where the Civil War started. The second one is going to enter where we could very well see the beginnings of another civil war in this country, because the people in Texas are getting fed up with the fact that the federal government is allowing people to immigrate into this country unrestrained by the millions of people. And it's messing up with their whole economy. Their very lives are endangered. So there's a possibility of a civil war. Could be starting in Eagle Pass, Texas. That thing is going to come clear across the country, and it's going to depart up in Canada, but it will create a 130-mile swath. And the swath from the first one is going to cross the swath from the second one. And, you know, we can do so precise now with our technology and everything that it's going to actually, the pinpoint crossing location will be on Salem Street. Salem Street. You know, we may think, oh, these are just coincidences. No, they are signs. And God has given signs to us, to warn us, to alert us, to make us aware of what's going on. So, I just want to recommend to you that you don't take this book lightly. It's true, it's accurate, but if you don't read it and you don't know what it says, you'll be caught totally unawares when the Lord returns. Lord returns? Yeah, He's coming back. Jesus is coming back. He left this earth in a physical form, flew up into the clouds. Yeah, He rose right up off the ground in the eyes of all His disciples, disappeared in the cloud. And the angel said, what are you staring, gazing at into heaven? This same Jesus whom you've seen ascend into heaven shall return the same way you've seen Him go, except in reverse. Instead of going up into the clouds, He'll come back down out of the clouds. Are you ready? Are you ready for that event? You better be ready. Just as Jonah told the people, get ready, there's going to be a flood. If you get on the boat, you'll be safe. If you don't, you die. They ignored him. They laughed at him. They mocked him. And there's people who are doing the same thing today. They're saying, yeah, Jesus is coming back. Yeah, the earth's going to be burned up. Right. We don't believe any of that bunkum. Well, hang in there. It's been good talking to you today, and we'll see you next week.